We're going to do a couple of applications with 3 equations and 3 variables. And once we set them up, we will use our calculator and a matrix to solve them. Okay, so let's look at this one. It says a jar of coins contains nickels, dimes, and quarters totaling $6.75. There are 3 fewer quarters than nickels. There are 3 more dimes than the total number of nickels and quarters. Find the number of each. Okay, so first let's define our variables. So let's let N be nickels, D be dimes, and Q be quarters. Okay, so we know that nickels are, and this is how many we have of each. We know nickels are worth 5 cents. So if we look at the first line, a jar of coins contains nickels, dimes, and quarters totaling $6.75. That means if we take 5 cents for every nickel plus 10 cents for every dime plus 25 cents for every quarter, we get our total $6.75. Okay, now let's take the next line. So it says there are 3 fewer quarters than nickels. So we know that the quarters are the nickels minus 3. There are 3 fewer quarters than nickels, meaning if we take the nickels and take 3 away, then we get the number of quarters. Okay, and let's look at the last line. So it says there are 3 more dimes than the total number of nickels and quarters. So dimes are 3 plus the total number of nickels and quarters. Okay, now before we put this in a matrix, we kind of need to get everything lined up, everything on the same side. So we'll use black and write kind of everything the way we want it. So we're gonna leave the first line alone, 0.05n plus 0.10d plus 0.25q equals 6.75. The second line, the red one, I'm going to move the nickels over, so I'm going to subtract n from both sides, and that will give us minus n plus, I'm going to write, we don't have any d's, so to help us out I'm just going to say 0d plus q equals -3. And for this last one, we're going to subtract, for the green one, n from both sides and q from both sides. Okay, so that will give us minus n plus d minus q equals 3. Okay, now let's go ahead and now that we have those there, we can make our matrix. And instead of writing it all out, let's just go ahead and put it in the calculator since it's all in order. So we're going to do matrix, go over to edit, we can leave it right there in A. So 0.05, 0.1, 0.25, 6.75, -1, 0, 1, -3, -1, 1, -1, 3. Okay, so we've got the matrix in there. I'm gonna hit second, quit. Now, if you've done a lot of these, I know it's time consuming to hit matrix, go over to calc. If you've just done one, if you hit second, enter, and it brings that up, that RREF, you can just hit enter and it'll do it for this problem. So here's our reduced row echelon matrix, and that tells us that the number of nickels is 15, the number of dimes is 30, and the number of quarters is 12. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at the next one. it says a total of $42,000 was invested in 3 accounts. The first account paid 6% simple interest. The second account paid 4% simple interest, and the last account paid 3%. The amount deposited in the first account was twice the amount deposited in the second account. The total interest after 1 year was $1,680. Find the amount invested in each account. Now, since there's no good letters really to do this, I'm going to let X be the first account, which was, so we'll say account with 6% interest. Y will be the account with 4% interest, and we'll let Z be the amount in the account with 3%. Okay, so let's go through each part. So it says a total of $42,000 was invested in 3 accounts. So our total is $42,000. So we're going to let X plus Y plus Z be $42,000. Okay, let's see what the next line says. Then we have the amounts. Okay, so it says the amount deposited in the first account was twice the amount deposited in the second account. So we've got X equals 2Y will be our next equation. Okay, and then let's look at our third. The total interest after 1 year was $1,680. Okay, now to find interest, we're going to take the interest rate times each of the accounts. So 0.06 times X plus 0.04 times Y plus 0.03 times Z equals 1680. Now, the only equation that we really need to rewrite is the one in red here. So we'll need to rewrite that as X. We're going to subtract 2Y from both sides. So minus 2Y. We don't have any Z, so I'm going to put 0Z equals, if we subtract it from both sides, we're going to get 0 on this side. Okay, so now these are the 3 equations that we'll use to make our matrix. So we have 1, 1, 1, 42,000 from our first equation, then 1, -2, 0, 0 from our second equation, 0.06, 0.04, 0.03, and 1, oops, I should have a 0 right there. Good thing I caught that. 1680 there. Okay, so second quit. Remember, you could hit matrix, go over to math, go down to REF, but since we just did it, if we hit second and second enter, okay, it'll give it to us there. So so in the first account, let's write our solution in black. So the first account with 6% interest had $12,000 invested. The second account with the 4% interest had $6,000 invested. And the third account with the 3% interest had $24,000 invested.